Pontius Pilate, Caiaphas, Herod Antipas, and lastly Judas Iscariot, one of the disciples who betrayed Jesus, along with the chief priests, elders, scribes, and Pharisees, all played significant roles in the conspiracy that led to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. These figures, driven by a shared agenda, were instrumental in the plot that resulted in the death of the Son of God over 2,000 years ago. This dark chapter in history, marked by a series of malevolent actions, not only shook the world, but also had profound implications for humanity. From a Christian perspective, the crucifixion of Jesus is viewed as a self-sacrificial act of immense love and redemption. Christians believe that Jesus accepted his death willingly as a means to atone for the sins of mankind, including the grievous sin committed by those who orchestrated his unjust death. Despite this belief in divine purpose, the individuals who were directly involved in this tragic event were not absolved of their responsibility. Their actions, driven by personal and political motives, have been the subject of much reflection and scrutiny. But what became of these individuals after their involvement in the crucifixion? How did their lives unfold, and what were the consequences they faced for their actions? The historical records provide insights into their fates, revealing the severe and often tragic ends that befell them. These accounts offer a sobering perspective on the consequences of their decisions and actions. In this video, we will delve into the lives of these key figures and explore the details surrounding their eventual deaths. We'll uncover the truth behind their involvement in the trial and execution of Jesus, examining their motivations and the broader implications of their actions. By following this journey, you will gain a deeper understanding of this pivotal event in history and its impact on both the past and present. Watch the video to understand its powerful message and connect with the deeper spiritual meaning. Your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing helps us spread the gospel and strengthen the Christian community. Our first focus is on Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor who played a pivotal role in the trial and crucifixion of Jesus. His actions are documented across all four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, where his involvement in the proceedings is detailed. As the Roman governor of Judea, Pilate wielded considerable power, overseeing military, financial, and judicial matters in the province. His authority extended to the administration of taxes, the minting of coins, and ultimately, the life or death of prisoners. Pilate's role in condemning Jesus to death highlights his significant influence over the events that transpired, making his actions a focal point in the narrative of Jesus' crucifixion. To maintain control over Judea, the Roman Empire appointed King Herod to govern the region under its authority. Within the Jewish community, the dominant religious belief, Judaism, wielded considerable influence. During this time, a growing number of people began to follow Jesus, which sparked envy and resentment among the Jewish priests and elders. Fearing that their authority and livelihood might be undermined if Jesus continued to gain followers, they plotted to have him killed. They bribed Judas, one of Jesus' disciples, to betray him. Judas agreed, leading to Jesus being arrested and brought before the high priest. There, the priests, elders, and scribes concocted false charges against him, subjected him to a mock trial, and brutally beat him. However, under Roman rule, the Jewish higher court lacked the power to execute anyone. Consequently, they bound Jesus and took him to the Roman governor's palace, seeking to have him judged by Pilate. The Jewish leaders accused Jesus of inciting rebellion against the Roman emperor and refusing to pay taxes, hoping these charges would compel Pilate to sentence him to death. Pilate, having heard of Jesus' reputation, was particularly interested in the case. His own son, Peter, had been afflicted with a mysterious illness that had paralyzed one of his legs and left him bedridden. Despite numerous doctors' efforts, Peter's condition seemed hopeless until Jesus miraculously healed him. Pilate, who was deeply grateful for this miracle, conducted the initial interrogation of Jesus. During this questioning, Jesus refuted the accusations made by the Jewish authorities and spoke to Pilate about his purpose. "For this I was born, and for this I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth." Pilate, realizing Jesus' innocence, declared, "I find no fault in this man." Pilate understood that the accusations against Jesus were driven by jealousy and a desire to eliminate him. Furthermore, Jesus had performed a miracle for his son, which made Pilate reluctant to condemn him. However, the Jewish leaders were relentless in their demands for Jesus' execution, refusing to accept any alternative. Pilate, seeking to avoid conflict with the Jewish authorities and hoping to maintain peace during his term, devised a strategic plan. He decided to send Jesus to King Herod, who was in Jerusalem at the time, for a judgment. When Jesus appeared before Herod, the king hoped to witness some miraculous signs. However, Jesus refused to perform any miracles as a spectacle. Instead, he remained silent in the face of Herod's mockery. Herod, dissatisfied and not wanting to antagonize the Jewish leaders, sent Jesus back to Pilate. Accompanying Jesus was a letter from Herod that read, "This prisoner must be dealt with swiftly tonight, as I am traveling to Rome tomorrow and intend to speak favorably of you to the emperor." Simultaneously, Herod sent emissaries to subtly suggest that Pilate should order Jesus' execution, under threat of reporting Pilate's inaction to the emperor. This maneuver placed Pilate in a difficult position, caught between maintaining his standing with the Jewish authorities and upholding justice. Governor Pilate found himself in a precarious situation as he was compelled to re-examine Jesus under the relentless pressure of the Jewish elders. The atmosphere was charged with hostility, as the crowd, stirred up by these elders, demanded Jesus' execution. Pilate, grappling with the intense pressure and turmoil, ultimately succumbed to their demands and condemned Jesus to crucifixion. Despite his decision, Pilate tried to absolve himself of guilt. He presented Jesus to the priests and the gathered people, declaring, "You have brought this man to me, accusing him of inciting rebellion. I have examined him in your presence and found no grounds for the charges you have leveled against him. Herod too found no fault and sent him back to us. Clearly, he has done nothing deserving of death. Therefore, I will have him flogged and then release him." It was the time of the Passover festival, a period when it was customary for the Roman authorities to release one prisoner chosen by the people. Pilate hoped this tradition might offer him a way out. However, to his dismay, the crowd, fueled by the Jewish elders' demands, preferred the release of Barabbas, a known murderer, over Jesus. The elders even threatened Pilate, saying, "If you release Jesus, you are not a friend of Caesar." This threat terrified Pilate, as he feared the implications for his career and position. Pilate led Jesus to a location called Golgotha, previously used as a site for legal proceedings, and continued to advocate for Jesus' release. He reiterated his stance, questioning the crowd a third time. What crime has he committed? He declared that he had found no reason for punishment and proposed to discipline Jesus and release him. Yet the crowd's cries grew louder, demanding crucifixion. Pilate, overwhelmed and fearing a potential uprising that could jeopardize his status and promotion, resorted to a symbolic gesture of washing his hands in front of the crowd, proclaiming, "I am innocent of this man's blood. It is your responsibility." Despite this public display of disavowal, Pilate's attempt to disassociate himself from the decision did not absolve him of guilt under the laws of his time. As the highest judicial authority in the region, he had the duty to uphold justice and the law. Jesus had not breached any legal statutes, nor was there evidence to substantiate the charges against him. Pilate's failure to enforce legal principles and his submission to mob pressure constituted a dereliction of his judicial responsibilities. Furthermore, as the governor, he should have acted to quell any potential unrest, rather than capitulate to the demands of the rebellious crowd. The broader context reveals that Jesus' death was the culmination of a series of betrayals and failings. Judas Iscariot's betrayal set the stage, followed by the fervent hostility of the Jewish religious leaders and King Herod, who, along with the incited crowd, played a crucial role. Pilate's own fear and reluctance to stand up to the crowd contributed significantly to the outcome. Thus, Pilate's actions and decisions were pivotal in ensuring that an innocent man was sentenced to death, marking him with a permanent stain of injustice. Pilate's retribution began almost immediately after the crucifixion. His son Peter, who had been healed by Jesus, suddenly fell gravely ill and died. This tragic event was followed by Pilate himself, falling severely ill and slipping into a prolonged unconscious state. This was merely the beginning of his punishment. Shortly after, King Herod, having broken his promises, rejected Pilate and endorsed his own ally for the Roman emperor's consideration. Pilate was recalled to Rome and faced accusations that led to his trial in the Senate. He was beaten, stripped of his official position, and exiled to Gaul. In exile, Pilate's life unraveled further. Stripped of his property and wealth, he lived in destitution and scorn, shunned by society and avoided even by children. His dream of advancement was shattered, and the disdain of the Roman emperor added to his miseries. Eventually, Pilate's despair drove him to madness. In a final act of desperation, he set himself on fire. His remains were then bound to a stone and cast into a river, marking a grim end to a once powerful figure who failed in his moment of judgment. King Herod Antipas, also known as Herod the Great, was a pivotal figure in the history of Judea and the broader Roman Empire during the era of Jesus Christ. Born in Idumea, which is now southern Israel, around 73 BC, Herod was of Edomite descent and rose to prominence through a combination of political skill and strategic alliances with the Roman authorities. Appointed king of Judea by the Roman Senate in 40 BC, Herod's reign was marked by a mixture of grand architectural achievements and ruthless political maneuvering. Herod's reign was distinguished by his ambitious building projects that aimed to modernize and expand the kingdom of Judea. Among his most notable contributions was the extensive renovation and expansion of the Second Temple in Jerusalem, a project that aimed to solidify his legacy and demonstrate his devotion to Judaism. He also oversaw the construction of the impressive fortress at Masada and the establishment of the port city of Caesarea Maritima, which became a significant hub of trade and culture. Despite these accomplishments, Herod's rule was also characterized by intense political intrigue and personal turmoil. His numerous marriages and the complex dynamics within his family led to frequent power struggles and conflicts. His efforts to maintain control were marked by severe measures, including the execution of perceived rivals and members of his own family. Notably, Herod's reign saw the execution of 3 of his sons and 1 of his wives, reflecting the brutal nature of his governance. Herod's relationship with the Roman Empire was a key aspect of his rule. His loyalty to Rome was evident in his efforts to maintain stability and align himself with Roman interests. This alignment, however, did not shield him from the personal and political challenges that arose during his reign. Herod's death in 4 BC came after a period of intense suffering. The historical accounts describe his final days as marked by severe physical ailments, including chronic itching, abdominal pain, difficulty breathing, convulsions, and an infection in his genitals. Modern experts speculate that these symptoms were likely due to complications from gout or kidney failure, though some interpret his agonizing death as a form of divine retribution for his many cruelties. King Herod Antipas is perhaps best remembered for his role in the events leading up to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. While he was not directly responsible for Jesus' execution, he played a part by sending Jesus to Pontius Pilate, thus facilitating the process that would lead to Jesus' crucifixion. Herod's reign also saw the horrific massacre of the infants in Bethlehem, as he sought to eliminate the potential threat posed by the prophesied Messiah. This event is described in the Gospel of Matthew. "A voice was heard in Ramah, weeping in great lamentation, Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted because they are no more." Matthew 2:18. Following Herod's death, his kingdom was divided among his sons, leading to continued instability and unrest in the region. Herod's legacy remains complex. While he is acknowledged for his substantial contributions to the infrastructure and development of Judea, his harsh rule and the violence he inflicted upon his own people leave a darker imprint on history. His reign stands as a testament to the intricate balance of power, ambition, and cruelty that characterized his era. Next, we are going to reveal the portrait of Caiaphas, a central figure in the trial of Jesus Christ. Caiaphas, also known as Joseph Caiaphas, held the prestigious position of high priest in Jerusalem during the time of Jesus in the early 1st century AD. He was a significant leader in the Jewish religious community, serving as the high priest from approximately 18 to 36 AD. His role encompassed overseeing religious practices, maintaining order within the Jewish community, and acting as a liaison between the Jewish people and the Roman authorities, who wielded considerable influence over Judea during that era. As the head of the Sanhedrin, the Jewish council, Caiaphas was responsible for adjudicating religious and legal matters. His collaboration with the Roman governor Pontius Pilate was crucial, especially given the political landscape of the time. The cooperation between Caiaphas and Pilate is particularly evident in the trial of Jesus. Caiaphas presided over the proceedings before the Sanhedrin, where Jesus faced accusations that led to his condemnation. This resulted in Jesus being handed over to Pontius Pilate, who then sentenced him to crucifixion. The Gospels of Luke, Mark, John, and Matthew provide detailed accounts of Caiaphas's role in these events. His involvement highlights the complex interplay between political and religious dynamics. Caiaphas's actions, marked by betrayal and political maneuvering, underscore the intricate nature of human motives and the need for repentance and moral reflection. Despite his significant role, Caiaphas's life did not conclude without controversy. Although he continued to serve as high priest after the crucifixion of Jesus, his tenure was marked by increasing tensions and conflicts within the Jewish community. His leadership came to an end around 36 AD, when Roman authorities removed him from office. This removal was likely influenced by the growing political instability and dissent within the Jewish religious establishment. Turning our focus to Judas Iscariot, we encounter another pivotal figure in the narrative of Jesus' last days. Judas Iscariot, one of the 12 disciples of Jesus, is infamously known for his act of betrayal, which led to Jesus' arrest and crucifixion. His surname, Iscariot, suggests that he hailed from Kerioth, a town in Judea, distinguishing him from the other disciples. Entrusted with managing the group's finances, Judas's role was initially one of responsibility. However, the Gospel of John reveals that his actions were driven by greed and a love for money. According to Matthew 26:14-16, Judas's betrayal was motivated by a financial incentive. He agreed to hand over Jesus to the chief priests in exchange for 30 silver coins. This passage highlights the extent of his treachery. Then one of the 12, the one called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and asked, "What are you willing to give me if I hand him over to you?" So they counted out for him 30 silver coins. From then on, Judas watched for an opportunity to hand him over. During the Last Supper, Jesus foreshadowed the betrayal of one of his disciples. When Judas received a piece of bread from Jesus, he left to execute his plan, which culminated in Jesus' arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane. The Gospels recount Jesus' repeated predictions of his betrayal, culminating in this tragic event. Judas Iscariot's betrayal remains a stark reminder of the profound consequences of personal greed and the tragic fulfillment of Jesus' forewarnings. At the Last Supper, Jesus shared his final meal with his disciples, knowing that his arrest and crucifixion were imminent. The Gospel of John 13:2 recounts this pivotal moment, where the devil instigated Judas Iscariot to betray Jesus. The Bible does not explicitly explain Judas' motivations. While his role as the keeper of the money bag might imply greed, another possible reason could be his confusion over Jesus' statements about his impending death. Many people of that time were expecting a political Messiah who would liberate them, and Jesus did not conform to those expectations. The Bible indicates that Satan played a role in Judas's betrayal, but the extent of this influence is not detailed. Judas Iscariot ultimately betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. After the betrayal, Judas was overwhelmed with remorse and attempted to return the money to the chief priests and elders, only to be met with rejection. The priests refused to accept the money back into the temple treasury, deeming it tainted by its association with betrayal. Consequently, Judas threw the silver into the temple and went away, ultimately taking his own life by hanging himself. In the aftermath, the chief priests used the 30 pieces of silver to purchase a potter's field as a burial place for foreigners. This act was seen as fulfilling Old Testament prophecy. The Book of Acts provides a further account of Judas's demise, describing how he purchased a field with the money earned from his betrayal, only to meet a gruesome end. According to Acts, Judas fell headlong in the field, and his body burst open, spilling his intestines. This graphic description highlights the tragic and sorrowful consequences of Judas's betrayal. Judas's actions and their dire consequences underscore the fulfillment of Old Testament prophecies and are integral to the narrative of Jesus' sacrificial death and resurrection. Despite his role in the events leading to Jesus' crucifixion, Judas's story emphasizes themes of betrayal, repentance, and divine justice. It serves as a poignant reminder of the importance of genuine repentance and the severe repercussions of disloyalty. The stories of Judas and others who conspired against Jesus reveal the complexities of human nature and the consequences of betraying justice. These accounts highlight how actions driven by fear, ambition, or religious fervor can lead to one's downfall. In Christian belief, the responsibility for Jesus' death extends to all humanity, as his sacrificial death on the cross was essential for atoning for the world's sins and reconciling humanity with God. Through Jesus' sacrifice, God offers forgiveness, redemption, and the chance for a restored relationship with Him. This sacrificial act is a testament to the profound depth of God's love for humanity. Christians believe that God desires the well-being and eternal salvation of all people. Despite the gravity of sin, God provides the opportunity for forgiveness and redemption through faith in Jesus Christ. It is not our place to judge the eternal destinies of others, as only God has the authority to judge the hearts and lives of individuals. As Christians, we are called to embody love, compassion, and grace, following the example of Jesus Christ, who taught us to forgive even those who wrong us. The focus of Christianity is not on retribution or karmic debt, but on the hope and redemption available through Jesus' death and resurrection. Faith is our shield in spiritual battles, and by placing our trust in God, we can face challenges with confidence and strength. As stated in 2 Peter 2:9, "The Lord knows how to deliver the godly out of temptation." God's love is not conditional or based on our actions, but is a divine and unconditional love aimed at restoring our relationship with Him. As Romans 5:8 expresses, "But God demonstrates His own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." This all-encompassing love extends to every person, regardless of their past mistakes or shortcomings. We appreciate you sticking with us till the end. Your support is invaluable to us. Please consider subscribing to our channel, liking this video, and sharing it with others to help our community grow. By doing so, you align yourself with the path to heaven, where God has already prepared a place for us to worship Him. Are you ready to embark on this meaningful journey with us as we strive to spread the gospel of love to Christians around the world? Judas Iscariot is a name synonymous with betrayal, but what if his story is far more complex than we've been told? For centuries, his role in the events leading to the crucifixion of Jesus has been a source of mystery and speculation. Now, a recently unearthed ancient manuscript is shedding new light on his life and actions, a revelation that could challenge everything we thought we knew. This long-lost text, hidden for over 2,000 years, reveals a shocking narrative. Its contents could alter the way we understand one of history's most infamous figures. From the biblical account of the Last Supper to the events that culminated in Jesus' crucifixion, this manuscript offers a perspective that may leave you questioning the very fabric of history. For centuries, scholars were aware of the existence of a Gospel of Judas, a text that portrayed Judas in a very different light. Church Father Irenaeus wrote about this Gospel around 180 AD, claiming that it depicted Judas as possessing secret knowledge about Jesus that no one else had. According to Irenaeus, this Gospel suggested that Judas played a unique role in accomplishing the mystery of the betrayal, and that both earthly and heavenly realms were impacted by his actions. In 2006, National Geographic announced the discovery of a Gnostic text known as the Gospel of Judas. While there is no definitive proof that this text is the same one Irenaeus mentioned, it does portray an intriguing relationship between Jesus and Judas. This manuscript suggests that Judas had insights into who Jesus really was, insights that remain as controversial today as they were 2,000 years ago. Despite occasional media coverage, most people know little about the Gospel of Judas or its significance. What exactly does this ancient text reveal, and why is it so important? Let's explore its story. The discovery of the Gospel of Judas is a tale shrouded in mystery and incomplete documentation. In the 1970s, an Egyptian treasure hunter unearthed the text in the Minya province of Egypt, roughly 120 miles south of Cairo. Hidden in a cave, he found a limestone box containing several ancient documents, including the codex that holds the Gospel of Judas. These texts were sold to a Cairo antiquities dealer named Hannah Abel, who attempted to sell the codex for an astronomical $3 million. However, he struggled to find a buyer. In 1984, he smuggled the text into the United States, storing it in a safe deposit box in Long Island. Unfortunately, this decision proved disastrous. Unlike Egypt's dry climate, New York's humidity caused the codex to deteriorate over 16 years, leaving it severely damaged. In 2000, antiquities dealer Frida Nussberger Chakos acquired the text and passed it on to professional manuscript conservators. By this point, the Gospel had suffered significant damage, with scholars estimating that 10 to 15% of its content was lost. After 3 decades of mishandling and neglect, the Gospel's fragile state highlights the challenges of preserving ancient artifacts. In 2006, National Geographic secured the rights to publish the codex, unveiling photographs and a translation of the Gospel of Judas for the world to see. This marked the first time scholars could closely examine what is considered one of the most significant discoveries in early Christian history. The codex, known as Codex Chakos, measures approximately 16 by 29 centimeters and originally contained 4 texts: the letter of Peter to Philip, the first Apocalypse of James, the Book of Allergenes, and the Gospel of Judas. Written in Sahidic Coptic, an ancient Egyptian language used during the late Roman period in Egypt, the codex is similar to many other early Christian texts. Radiocarbon dating places it in the 3rd or 4th century. If this is the same Gospel Irenaeus referenced in the 2nd century, then it could be a 3 RD century copy of a 2 end century text, possibly dating back to around 150 CE. This makes it notably early for a non-canonical Gospel. It is essential to clarify that Judas Iscariot, the disciple and betrayer of Jesus in the New Testament, did not author this text. The Gospel of Judas dates to at least 150 CE, a century after Jesus and his disciples lived. Nor does the text reveal anything about the historical Jesus. Instead, it reflects the theological ideas and debates of 2nd and 3 RD century Christians. While the New Testament Gospels portray Judas as betraying Jesus for 30 pieces of silver and later returning the money out of guilt before taking his own life, this Gospel offers a different perspective. The Gospel of Judas presents itself as a series of dialogues between Jesus and his disciples, interspersed with more personal conversations between Jesus and Judas. The text delves into spiritual truths and discussions about the creation of the universe. It is divided into 3 sections: the portrayal of the 12 disciples, mythology and theology, and the portrayal of Judas. The Gospel begins with an interaction between Jesus and his disciples, presenting the 12 in an unfavorable light. The disciples are shown worshipping together, possibly practicing the Eucharist, when Jesus approaches them, laughing. Perplexed, the disciples ask why he is laughing and insist they are performing their prayer correctly. Jesus responds, "I am not laughing at you. You do not do this by your own will, but by this your God will be worshipped." This shocking statement suggests that they are worshipping the wrong God. When the disciples ask, "Teacher, are you not the Son of our God?" Jesus replies, "Truly I tell you, no generation will know me from the people who are among you." This stern rebuke sets the tone for how the Gospel depicts the 12 disciples: angry, ignorant and confused men who misunderstand Jesus and even blaspheme against him. This portrayal reflects the fragmented state of Christianity in the 2nd and 3rd centuries, a time when there was no unified doctrine or orthodoxy. The text's critical tone towards the disciples aligns with the theological tensions of the period, offering a unique lens into early Christian thought and the diversity of beliefs that existed at the time. In early Christianity, different groups claimed authority from the apostles, and critiquing the disciples in texts like the Gospel of Judas could serve to undermine their legitimacy. However, in this Gospel, Judas stands apart. Unlike the other disciples, he alone grasps the true nature of Jesus. Judas proclaims, "I know who you are and whence you have come. You have come from the immortal realm of Barbello and he who sent you. I am not worthy to proclaim his name." To understand this, it's helpful to examine Sethian Gnostic theology. Scholars often classify the Gospel of Judas as a Sethian or Gnostic text, terms used to group writings with shared themes, such as the Apocalypse of Adam and the Apocryphon of John. Sethian mythology reinterprets Genesis, claiming the world was not created by a supreme god, but by a lesser malevolent being called Yaldabaoth, or Saklas. According to this belief, the true God is unknowable, existing beyond the material world, and emanates celestial beings like Barbelo. Judas recognizes Jesus as originating from this higher spiritual realm, unlike the other disciples, who mistakenly associate him with Saklas, the flawed creator god. Later in the Gospel, Jesus reveals the creation myth to Judas, explaining that Saklas and his angels created Adam and Eve. This account mirrors Genesis but portrays humanity's creation as the work of a corrupt, lesser deity. This inversion of the biblical story is central to Gnostic theology. Judas's unique role stems from his understanding of Jesus's true origin and mission, setting him apart from the other disciples. Initially, some scholars, including those involved in the National Geographic translation, interpreted the Gospel as portraying Judas in a highly favorable light, even as Jesus's closest disciple. However, this view has been contested. For instance, Jesus refers to Judas as a 13th demon, a term that could denote a neutral spirit or an evil being. Scholar April DeConnick argues that this title connects Judas to Saklas, the creator god, suggesting Judas might represent an earthly counterpart to this malevolent figure. This ambiguity has sparked debate about whether Judas is depicted positively or negatively in the text. What is clear is that the Gospel of Judas offers a fascinating insight into the theological diversity of early Christianity. It reflects a time when interpretations of God and creation were still evolving. By challenging traditional views of Judas and the disciples, this gospel sheds light on the complexities of Christian thought in the 2nd and 3rd centuries. Thank you for exploring this with me, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into ancient texts.
Mary Magdalene, a name that evokes mystery, devotion, and centuries of debate. Who was this intriguing figure who stood at the heart of some of Christianity's most pivotal moments? Was she a sinner, a saint, or something far more profound? Today we explore the incredible story of Mary Magdalene, a woman whose legacy has sparked endless fascination and controversy. Mary Magdalene, also known as Mary of Magdala, is one of the most prominent and frequently mentioned female figures in the New Testament. Her name, Magdalene, originates from Magdala, a bustling fishing village on the western shore of the Sea of Galilee. This geographic identifier sets her apart from other Marys in the Gospels, such as Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Mary, the sister of Martha and Lazarus. But more than just distinguishing her identity, it suggests her independence. Unlike most women of her time, Mary Magdalene is not defined by her relationship to a father, husband, or son. Her identity stands on its own, a rare occurrence in a patriarchal society where lineage and marital status often overshadowed individual identity. The Gospels introduce Mary Magdalene as one of Jesus' most devoted followers, playing a vital and active role in his ministry. Luke 8:1-3 describes her as a woman who was healed by Jesus, along with others who supported his mission with their resources. This detail alone sets her apart as a woman of means and influence, someone who chose to dedicate her life and wealth to Jesus' teachings. In fact, Mary Magdalene is mentioned by name more frequently in the Gospels than most of the male disciples, underscoring her importance to the early Christian community. Yet despite her prominence in Scripture, her story has been clouded by speculation and misrepresentation for centuries. Was she a penitent prostitute, a misunderstood leader, or a symbol of feminine spirituality? These questions have fueled debates among theologians, historians, and popular culture alike. What is clear, however, is that Mary Magdalene was no ordinary follower. She witnessed Jesus' crucifixion, was present at his burial, and was the first to see him after his resurrection, a role so significant that she is often called the Apostle to the Apostles. In her, we see a woman of courage, resilience, and faith, whose story continues to captivate and inspire to this day.
The Gospel of Mary is one of the most remarkable discoveries in early Christian literature, shedding light on Mary Magdalene's significant yet often misunderstood role in the history of Christianity. This ancient Gnostic text, unearthed in the late 19th century, offers a fresh perspective on spiritual teachings and Mary's connection to Jesus and his mission. Unlike the canonical Gospels included in the Bible, the Gospel of Mary portrays her not as a mere follower, but as a central figure among Jesus's disciples, highlighting her profound spiritual insights and leadership. A key theme in the Gospel of Mary is the emphasis on personal spiritual knowledge and enlightenment. Unlike the hierarchical structure often associated with institutional religion, this text presents a more egalitarian and introspective approach to faith. Mary is depicted as a teacher, someone who possesses unique wisdom and understanding of Jesus' teachings, which she shares with the other disciples. In one passage, when the disciples are fearful and unsure after Jesus' death, Mary comforts and reassures them, recounting private teachings that Jesus had entrusted to her. This portrayal elevates her role from a passive observer to an active leader, challenging the male-dominated narratives that have shaped much of early Christian history. The Gospel of Mary also offers a radical departure from traditional doctrine by emphasizing the importance of inner enlightenment over external religious authority. The text suggests that divine understanding is accessible to all individuals through self-reflection and spiritual exploration, bypassing the need for rigid structures or intermediaries. This idea aligns with Gnostic beliefs, which prioritize personal experience of the divine over dogmatic adherence to institutional rules. In this framework, Mary emerges as a guide and spiritual mentor, demonstrating how personal connection with the divine can transform lives. This alternative perspective has significant implications for how Mary Magdalene is viewed in Christian history. For centuries, she was mistakenly labeled as a repentant prostitute, a characterization that minimized her importance and reduced her to a symbol of sin and redemption. However, the Gospel of Mary challenges these misconceptions, presenting her as a woman of wisdom, courage, and spiritual authority. Her unique relationship with Jesus, as well as her ability to inspire and lead others, suggests that she played a far greater role in early Christianity than has traditionally been acknowledged. The Gospel of Mary also highlights the tension between Mary and some of the male disciples, particularly Peter, who questions her authority and the validity of her teachings. This conflict reflects broader struggles within early Christian communities over the inclusion of women in leadership roles. By presenting Mary as a figure who transcends these challenges, the text underscores the importance of her contributions to the spiritual movement that Jesus initiated. Ultimately, the Gospel of Mary invites readers to reconsider Mary Magdalene's place in Christian tradition. It portrays her as a pivotal figure in the dissemination of Jesus' teachings and a symbol of the transformative power of personal faith. Her story challenges traditional narratives and offers a vision of spirituality rooted in inner wisdom and equality, an enduring message that continues to inspire and provoke thought to this day. Mary Magdalene's story has captivated theologians, historians, and popular culture enthusiasts for centuries. While traditionally depicted as a devoted follower of Jesus Christ, her narrative took on an entirely new dimension with the emergence of one of the most provocative conspiracy theories in modern times, the idea that Mary Magdalene herself is the Holy Grail. This theory, popularized by works such as Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code, suggests that the Holy Grail is not a physical object, a chalice used by Jesus at the Last Supper, but rather a metaphorical vessel, represented by Mary Magdalene as the bearer of Jesus' bloodline. This interpretation challenges long-held beliefs about Mary Magdalene's role in Christian history, elevating her significance to that of the literal and symbolic preserver of Christ's legacy. The idea of Mary Magdalene as the Holy Grail reimagines her role not merely as a follower of Jesus, but as an integral figure in the continuation of his spiritual and physical lineage. Proponents of this theory argue that Mary and Jesus shared a deeply personal relationship, possibly even a marital bond, and that after his crucifixion, Mary carried his child. This child, according to the theory, became the progenitor of a sacred bloodline, which some believe has survived through the ages, hidden and protected from persecution. This concept has inspired a profound re-examination of Mary Magdalene's place in both theological and historical contexts, suggesting that her story is far more complex and influential than traditional Christian narratives have acknowledged. The theory also draws heavily on symbolism and hidden meanings found in ancient texts, art, and legends. Supporters point to the absence of clear evidence in the Bible regarding Mary Magdalene's life after Jesus' death, interpreting this silence as a deliberate effort by early church leaders to suppress her story. They argue that the patriarchal structure of the early church sought to marginalize women's roles in the Christian narrative, and that Mary Magdalene's true significance was intentionally obscured to maintain male dominance within the faith. In this light, the theory of Mary as the Holy Grail not only redefines her legacy, but also challenges the broader historical treatment of women in religious traditions. The concept of Mary Magdalene as the Holy Grail is intricately linked to the mysterious organization known as the Priory of Sion. This secretive group, first brought to public attention in the mid-20th century, is said to have existed for centuries with the mission of safeguarding the sacred bloodline believed to have descended from Jesus and Mary Magdalene. According to this theory, the Priory has worked tirelessly to protect this lineage, concealing its existence from the public and shielding its descendants from persecution. The organization is also rumored to have preserved evidence of Jesus and Mary's union, including ancient documents, genealogical records, and even physical relics. The Priory of Sion's story gained significant traction after the publication of The Holy Blood and the Holy Grail in 1982, a book that served as the foundation for later works like the Da Vinci Code. The authors of The Holy Blood and the Holy Grail argued that the Priory was instrumental in shaping European history by influencing powerful families and guiding events to protect the sacred bloodline. They claimed that the lineage of Jesus and Mary Magdalene became intertwined with the Merovingian dynasty, an early Frankish royal family, further embedding the bloodline into the fabric of European nobility. While the existence of the Priory of Sion remains a topic of heated debate, with many dismissing it as a hoax, the legend surrounding it has fueled widespread fascination. Whether fact or fiction, the idea of a secret organization dedicated to preserving the legacy of Mary Magdalene adds an air of mystery and intrigue to her story. For many, it represents a tantalizing alternative history, one that challenges the official narratives propagated by religious and secular authorities alike. Supporters of the Holy Grail theory often point to symbolic evidence found in religious art and architecture. They argue that certain Renaissance paintings and cathedral designs contain hidden references to Mary Magdalene's role as the Holy Grail. For example, some interpretations of Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper suggest that the figure seated to Jesus' right, traditionally identified as the Apostle John, may actually represent Mary Magdalene. This interpretation is based on the figure's feminine appearance and the alleged V shape created between Jesus and the figure, symbolizing the sacred feminine or a womb. Similarly, legends surrounding Mary Magdalene's journey to France after Jesus' crucifixion have fueled speculation about her role in preserving the sacred bloodline. According to local tradition, Mary arrived on the shores of southern France, possibly with her child, and lived out the remainder of her life there. Sites like Sainte-Marie de la Mer and the Basilica of Saint-Maximin-la-Sainte-Baume are associated with her presence and have become pilgrimage destinations for those seeking to connect with her story. These legends, while lacking definitive historical evidence, persist as part of the rich tapestry of Mary Magdalene's legacy, blending history, myth, and spirituality. The idea of Mary Magdalene as the Holy Grail carries profound theological implications, particularly for traditional Christianity. If true, it would fundamentally alter the understanding of Jesus' life and mission, reframing him not only as a spiritual leader, but also as a figure deeply connected to human relationships and lineage. It would also elevate Mary Magdalene to a status equal to or even surpassing that of the male apostles, challenging centuries of patriarchal dominance in Christian doctrine. Critics of the Holy Grail theory argue that it lacks credible evidence and relies heavily on speculation and interpretation. They point out that the canonical Gospels, as well as other early Christian writings, do not explicitly mention any romantic or familial relationship between Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Furthermore, many scholars regard the Priory of Sion as a fabrication created in the 20th century by individuals seeking to promote alternative histories. Despite the controversies and lack of definitive proof, the theory of Mary Magdalene as the Holy Grail continues to captivate the imagination of millions. It invites us to reconsider the narratives we've been taught and to explore the possibility that history holds hidden truths waiting to be uncovered. Whether Mary Magdalene was truly the Holy Grail or simply an extraordinary woman whose story was marginalized, her legacy remains a powerful symbol of faith, resilience, and the enduring quest for truth. Mary Magdalene's journey after the crucifixion of Jesus is one of the most captivating and enigmatic aspects of her legacy. According to legend, Mary fled to southern France, carrying not only the teachings of Jesus, but, as some theories suggest, their child. This narrative, while not supported by canonical scriptures, has taken root in French folklore, making Mary Magdalene a central figure in the region's spiritual and cultural history. These stories often begin with Mary's supposed arrival by boat on the shores of Provence, in a place now called Sainte-Marie de la Mer. Accompanied by a few companions, including Martha and Lazarus, Mary is said to have brought the message of Christianity to a new land. This journey was not just one of survival, but also of purpose, as she spread the teachings of Jesus and established a legacy that intertwined faith with local traditions. The Basilica of Saint-Maximin-la-Sainte-Baume, located in southern France, is considered one of the most important sites linked to Mary Magdalene. According to local lore, she lived out her final years in a nearby cave, now known as La Sainte-Baume. This site has become a destination for pilgrims who view it as a place of reflection and spiritual significance. Within the basilica itself are relics purported to belong to Mary Magdalene, further cementing the region's connection to her story. One of the more provocative aspects of this legend is the claim that Mary carried with her the child of Jesus, giving rise to a hidden lineage that would eventually merge with European nobility. This theory, often linked to the Holy Grail conspiracy, suggests that Mary Magdalene's bloodline became intertwined with the Merovingian dynasty, a powerful Frankish royal family. Proponents argue that this lineage was deliberately obscured by the early church to maintain a strictly spiritual interpretation of Jesus' legacy and to suppress the tales of Mary Magdalene's life in France are deeply rooted in local culture, blending elements of biblical history, folklore, and religious tradition. While these stories lack concrete historical evidence, their persistence speaks to the enduring fascination with her life and legacy. Local traditions often emphasize Mary's role as a teacher and spiritual guide, portraying her as a figure of strength and wisdom who brought hope and enlightenment to the region. The annual pilgrimage to Sainte Marie de la Mer, held in honor of the three Marys who supposedly arrived there, attracts thousands of visitors each year. While the event primarily celebrates the Virgin Mary and other figures from Christian lore, Mary Magdalene's presence is keenly felt, highlighting her importance in the local spiritual landscape. In addition to the pilgrimage, the cave of La Sainte-Baume is considered a sacred site for those seeking a deeper connection to Mary Magdalene. Nestled in a lush forest, the cave is said to be the place where Mary spent her final years in prayer and contemplation. For many, visiting the cave is not just an act of devotion, but also an opportunity to reflect on Mary Magdalene's transformative journey and her role as a symbol of resilience and faith. The idea that Mary Magdalene may have carried Jesus' child to France has fueled centuries of speculation and debate. This theory suggests that Mary, as the Holy Grail, represents a sacred vessel, the bearer of Christ's bloodline. According to this interpretation, the child born of their union became the foundation of a hidden lineage, which was carefully protected and preserved through the generations. Proponents of this theory often cite symbolic evidence in medieval art and literature, as well as cryptic references in ancient texts. For instance, some argue that the V shape formed by Jesus and the figure beside him in Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper symbolizes the sacred feminine, hinting at Mary Magdalene's role as the Grail. Similarly, legends of the Merovingian dynasty's divine origins are sometimes linked to this supposed bloodline, suggesting that these rulers were descendants of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Critics of the hidden bloodline theory point to the lack of concrete evidence and the speculative nature of the claims. They argue that these stories often rely on interpretations of symbols rather than historical facts, making them more of a cultural phenomenon than a credible historical account. Nevertheless, the theory continues to captivate the imagination, inspiring countless works of fiction, scholarly debates, and spiritual exploration. Whether or not the legends of Mary Magdalene's life in France are historically accurate, they have undeniably shaped the cultural and spiritual identity of the region. Mary's story has become a symbol of transformation, resilience, and the enduring power of faith. Her association with southern France has elevated her from a biblical figure to a cultural icon, bridging the gap between history, myth, and spirituality. Mary Magdalene's legacy in France also invites us to reflect on the broader themes of her story. Her journey from a misunderstood follower to a revered spiritual leader resonates with those seeking empowerment and truth. For many, Mary represents the possibility of redemption and transformation, embodying the idea that faith can overcome even the greatest challenges. In a region known for its rich history and deep spiritual traditions, Mary Magdalene's presence continues to inspire. Whether viewed as a historical figure, a spiritual guide, or a symbol of hidden truths, her story remains a source of fascination and devotion. The legends of her life in France, though shrouded in mystery, remind us of the enduring power of faith to transcend time and place, leaving an indelible mark on those who seek her story. Mary Magdalene's story challenges traditional narratives and invites us to rethink her role in Christianity. From the provocative theories of her life in France to the symbolism of the Holy Grail, her legacy continues to captivate scholars, theologians, and seekers of truth. Was she merely a devoted follower of Jesus, or did she play a more central role in his mission and legacy? The questions surrounding Mary Magdalene's life remain unanswered, but perhaps that is what makes her story so compelling. Her depiction in the Gospel of Mary, her association with the Holy Grail, and the legends of her life in France all point to a figure of immense significance, whose true impact may never be fully understood. As we continue to explore the mysteries of Mary Magdalene's life, her story reminds us of the transformative power of faith, the quest for truth, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Whether seen through the lens of history, theology, or myth, Mary Magdalene remains a symbol of resilience, wisdom, and the mysteries of faith. What do you think about Mary Magdalene's true role in history? Share your thoughts in the comments below.